And on my concept of map for change, we very much want to develop a map of where we are that we don't want to be, where it is that we do want to get to, what is our final destination. And then I work very much from a model from Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which has been utilized to develop how to model excellence. So they've studied people that have been most successful in reaching their goals. And they've found there are a number of different steps that need to be taken and have been taken in order to effectively reach goals. So that's what has been developed and what I utilize and guide people into using in order to reach their goals most successfully. So the steps of the well-formed outcome conditions have to do with thinking about where you are that you don't want to be. In other words, I'm feeling depressed. Okay, so what is it that you want instead? What is your desired outcome? What are your goals? Well, I want to be peaceful and happy. And I say, that's wonderful. And so it's good to clarify what that would be if they could be peaceful and happy. How would that make a difference in their lives? And then we want to look at some of the specific qualities in these steps of what's called the well-formed outcome conditions that are what's modeled from these successful people. And so one of the conditions is to be sure to say what it is that you do want as opposed to what you don't want. So if somebody says, I've been depressed, I don't want to be depressed anymore. So I think about where do those thoughts go and take them. So I don't want to be depressed is kind of like thinking I don't want to think about pink elephants. Where does your brain go? You say, I do want to think about white horses. Where does your brain go? And so where our brain goes, our energy flows. We want to create our brain into what is it that we do want instead. So we always want to put it in positive terms. So if you start with what you don't want, what would it be that you want instead? So I want more joy in my life. So then what we want to do is find out what's called the evidence of change question. What would be a way of knowing in their day-to-day life that they were at least experiencing a little bit more joy and happiness? What would be a measurable behavioral sign of change? And that is so important because we want to be able to determine if what we're doing is helping move in the right direction. So when I do interventions in therapy sessions, I want to have a way of knowing if what I'm doing is effective, if it's helping make changes. And I think if we don't have a way to measure results, then we don't know if what we're doing is helping. And it's certainly very hard to really measure if I'm happier today than I was yesterday. So those kind of incremental changes, I always want to be able to find a way to measure it behaviorally. So, well, if I found myself, for instance, feeling like getting up in the morning, that would be an indication to me that I'm already feeling better. And I always want to be clear with people. It's not how you would get there, because if you already knew that, you wouldn't be here. But what will it be that will help you to know that things are at least beginning to move in the right direction? So that's a very important question and a way to know if what we're doing is successful. And I do want to say that in my experience, when things at least begin to move in the right direction, they almost always will keep moving. So most people come in certainly for therapy, and many people in our lives in certain situations we're stuck. We're doing more of the same over and over. Nothing different happens. So when we can do something different and it works better, we will tend to want to do more of it. One of the concepts I love is when it has a choice, the brain will always opt for the more positive. And so to me, it's very indicative of the fact that people haven't had a choice. They've been stuck doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So when we can do something different, then in our experience, it most likely is going to work better. And then it becomes a self-reinforcing positive feedback loop. So we just really want to work on helping small incremental change to happen so that things will shift. And so another one of the questions in the well-formed outcome conditions has to do with, in order to make changes, it has to be initiated and maintained by us. So many situations I work with in therapy, I work with people who are in a difficult situation, in a difficult relationship, for instance. And there's so much focus on wanting the other person to change. And while I appreciate that's what people want, it's very difficult to get other people to change. I don't know how you feel if somebody tries to change you, but it mostly creates resistance. And it really, amazingly enough, even though we married a loving partner, or we have an amazing friend or family member or whomever, it isn't somebody else's job to meet our needs. It's our job to meet our needs. And that's what I work with people in therapy. What do we need to change within ourselves so that we can come from the place we need and want to come from in order to get the results that we want in our life?